Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 3 of this exciting PvZ matchup between Millennium's Stephano and SK's MC from the Red Bull Battlegrounds quarterfinal rounds. Of course, this is going to be Stephano spawning at the top left of GSL Daybreak up against MC, the blue Protoss, at the bottom right. Currently, our series is gridlocked 1-1. MC went for that all-in Game 2 on Ohana, which I originally mislabeled as Game 1. And then in Game number 1 itself, Stephano was able to win. And I do not actually remember the exact outcome of that. Usually I like to rewatch my videos because nowadays with exams I'm more spaced out between commentaries. So I even tend to forget what happened in the previous game. I'll try more to cast an entire series at a time rather than just space it out as I am. But exams are over in about a week, so what can I say? MC is the boss toss, who I don't really have anything to say to put him down. Very strong PvZ player, fully able to take on a top foreigner like Stephano, who is so enigmatic. I mean, who can't love Stephano? He's like 19 years old. Quite intelligent too, wants to become a doctor after retiring from StarCraft relatively soon. I mean, as much as I'll hate to see him go. Bright guy, he's made a ton of prize money, and then now he's just going to go for this macro 14 pool, probably 15 hatch, the Idra build as Wikipedia calls it. I spent way too many hours on that site, I have to say. I've learned so much about pro gaming. It's been such an adventure for me. Not as much as a caster as you might think, more so just looking on those player pages, learning my strategies. And I have to say, it's been such a journey. Wikipedia is an excellent resource for any aspiring caster, player, anybody. There's so much on there. I used to be a huge Wikipedia fanatic, just reading about the real world, but who wants to read about that? Head on Wikipedia and read about the StarCraft world. So we do have this Forge Expand from MC. And he does like to use his Stargates. I will say that we may see MC go for this expand into Stargate play with the Phoenixes and a couple Void Rays to support an all-in. I have seen him do that an awful lot of late, and it's strong. I mean, the other day I like to try out experimental builds in Team League, and with 5 Phoenixes off just one Stargate, so much harass damage done versus Zerg, because Mutas can be kited all day, Corruptors are too slow, and Queens are just fall victim to Phoenixes, so they're very strong, and Void Rays are excellent in timing pushes. So we'll have to see where MC goes for this. There's also the option for the Robo Facility timing push before Stephano can tech up to Lair, especially because he's gotten this expansion. So the fact that he's left vulnerable to this timing attack gives MC a viable window to take out his opponent. You get as many Immortals as you can after the initial Ob Scout, and then as soon as your opponent is investing in Lair Tech and going for Spire or Hydrogen, that is when you push, because then they've invested, they've wasted that much money, and you hit with Immortal. So that's another option for MC. PvZ is a pretty strong matchup on this map for Protoss, Daybreak of course, and though it also does allow the Zerg player to get those couple early expands down, the third is not nearly as defendable as the natural is, because we have this full ramp off here and then a complete separate area for the third. So Protoss players, if they're coming in to hit it, they can even just do a defensive force fields on their opponent's natural or on their opponent's third as they take out the hatchery. So I mean, that's the problem really for Zerg on Daybreak. And you in TvZ, you actually see I've casted a bunch of games on TvZ Daybreak, and you always see the Hellions come up here, but we won't be seeing that such thing. Irrelevant information. MC does have a Stalker on the way out. Population is fairly even. Nothing too important at this stage in the game. I mean, just a 6 population difference doesn't matter. But when you see in the late game, one thing about the Zerg, if you have a sufficient economy, is that you can just pop out a full population cycle. I mean, I'm not saying 200 necessarily, depends on the amount of larva, but you can, as a Zerg player, if you don't abuse your production capability, that will lose you games. Protoss, from a Protoss perspective, if I'm MC right now, I'm just gonna macro up, get enough harvesters. Let's check our tab here. full 10 harvester advantage, but MC is going for 6 more gates, so he's going for that 2 base 7 gate play. Why 7 gates? You're going to hear from people that 1 base can accommodate 4 gates if you're a Protoss player. Well, 2 base 7 gate is with chrono boost and with this forge for upgrades. That's why you cut the 1 gate down, because you're going to be chronoing out units and your upgrades as well. So I mean, it is only 100 for Protoss ground weapons, level 1, but that's still, I mean, 200 resources is a little bit more than a Stalker, and a Stalker that could have been coming off your 8th gate. So Stephano is going to see this pylon here, and immediately will know, okay, MC is going for this aggressive build, and MC isn't even scared to reveal it. He has 7 gates on the way, and he's ready to just say, look, I'm going to hit you hard whether or not you know it. Doesn't bother me. And MC is actually trying to run up to the 3rd here. That probe's going to be picked off, and that could be key quite soon, because he's not going to be able to reinforce with forward pylons. I mean, he does have this back pylon, but losing that probe, if he was able to snipe the 3rd, he might have been able to lay a pylon right over here or something to lay siege even to the main. Now, there are going to be roaches finishing. A nice 2-pronged attack here from Stephano will allow him to hold off. I believe MC's going to have to be very careful with his stalkers. If he loses them to the roaches, it could prove to be his downfall, but it looks like he's going to be able to put on quite a lot of aggression. I don't even know why Stephano put down this sport car, or maybe for fast DTs in anticipation of, or just a 2 base Stargate, which, as I did mention earlier in the game, is a viable build. So now we're going to have a pretty solid defense here, but I think there's just going to be too many zealots soaking up the roach fire and allowing the stalkers to focus down those armored biological early game roaches, which pack so much of a punch. But now more zealots are going to run into reinforce, but I just don't think Stephano is going to lose this out. I really honestly see this 30 population gap now moving into 38 population, my bad, and MC is just behind. He's put so much into this, but Stephano could just keep producing roach, laying off of his 2 saturated bases, even still has some drones on the 3rd. So, in my opinion, overinvestment from MC. I mean, sticking it to Stephano like that, revealing that forward pylon, not the best idea, because, I mean, you're giving away your strategy, and I guess he did think he could win with the all-in, but if we look at the production tab, all MC has is his 7 gates, and Stephano is just piling out units. He has now very, very large gap in the population, like 51, my bad. So, wow. Very, very nicely done from Stephano. Impeccable micro, allowing him to just... I mean, he did lose some roaches and stalkers, but was able to keep those 2-pronged attacks. That's the problem with Daybreak as well. When you're assaulting that 3rd, you're vulnerable to those 2-pronged attacks unless you go for defensive force fields. And MC had no sentries, so now even then, MC wasted another warp cycle on a bunch of zealots and lost them all because he was in a compromised position. So now we're just going to have a bunch of roaches here. That is a total of 11, all regenerating health along with some speed wings, and it's looking really grim right now. We do have roach speed on the way from Stephano. He is at over 3 digits population, while MC is still at 54. So he does have 1 defensive cannon, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do too much. This cannon and a 2nd on the way, not going to last very long, and MC actually did not even opt for the first upgrade, whether it be ground weapons or ground armor. And so Stephano's forces just hanging outside MC's base, saying, look, I will wait all day for you to sit off 2 bases against my 3, to sit off 46 harvesters to my 68, and I'll eventually kill you when I get my roach speed, when I get my missile attacks level 1. So, I mean, MC is opting for the robo, but let's face it, unless he can get some fantastic force fields to choke roach by roach, and even then, I don't think he'll be able to pull it off. So let's just see if he can make a miracle happen. Who knows? Does he have a mothership on the way? No, he does not. So if he can maybe get a Moro or 2 out and have a very, very favorable position, he might be able to hold off briefly. But looking at the big picture, we have just a lot of creep spread coming here from Stephano, not as much as Dong Regu. And by the way, I watched a lot of his games, especially that series against Marine King in the Winners Bracket Finals, and he had crazy creep spread. It made me completely rethink the Zerg race as a whole when he was just spreading all the way to about here on maps I forget the Cloud Kingdom. He's just spreading across the map so well. So Stephano actually had double MC's population, so he is going to go for the Hydrogen, and MC going for the robotic space. So we do have that Robo Bay versus Hydras. I gotta give it to the Colossi from the Robo Bay, but we are going to have an observer that's going to see exactly what MC's up against. If he can maybe get a Colossus out, but we do have Stephano with the Spire. I want to see how much he's actually scouted this. Not too much, so I mean, it's just probably just prediction, right? And he actually does build the hatch at MC's third location, so that's a little bit BM. But these guys have a friendly rivalry going on. We all know they're just kind of joking around, teasing each other. Even if you watch the pre-game interviews, they were just kind of jesting. So I mean, it's friendly, but he's building a hatch at his opponent's third, and is actually going to start getting Hydras out of it. So MC's going to see this and probably just laugh in his chair. Stephano has a pretty imposing force, and now is going to get his missile attacks level 2. So these cannons only going to hold for so long. One of them has 3 kills. This Immortal here just sitting pretty, and we actually do have weapons level 1 that did finish some time ago. I was a little bit too busy focusing on Stephano. So now he's just going to run these roaches around. I mean, he could run them back and forth all day and then burrow and do as he please. So we are going to have extended thermalites. 140 seconds takes a while. Well, if you're a Protoss player, that's always something for me when I invest in Colossi. I just have to wait for that extended thermal lance, and even Chrono Wing, it takes so long. And now it looks like Stephano's going to come in for this killing what am I saying? This killing blow. Look at the resources tab. We have 2,300 minerals now, rapidly moving up 400 gas to like 260, 350 now. That is what I meant about the 2 base. We even have a 4th now here from Stephano, and he just has this Manor Hatch that's actually mining a little bit. So now here's the Overseer going to be moving up, allowing Vision to snipe off this gate, so even then the production of MC going to be cut off. There is a change ring in here, so that is sniped. The Roach is no longer going to have... No, they are going to have Vision. This Overseer has to be picked off. If you listen to that, it's like a waterfall. The Roach is just starting to become greater and greater in numbers as they fire, and that's going to pick off one gate. And now the second one's going to go off. The Groove Spines Hydras have that added range. That comes out to a total of 6. If you look at the new Tempest, though, what does that have? 21 range? Anyway, we do have a couple of defensive force fields here from MC, and he's caught up significantly, but he's still 33 behind, and I mean, I just don't see how he's going to be able to pull this one off. Stephano does have the third, but it's looking very good for him. He has his 2 upgrades, well, his missile attacks level 2, and MC going to dare to move out here, but Stephano has 11 Corruptors on the way, so these Colossi are pretty much already negated, and that's my problem with Colossi in PvT and PvZ, is that Corruptors and Vikings are just so good. And I mean, the Colossi, if you micro well, they can pack a huge punch, but you always have to worry about your Colossi. I mean, a lot of times they're just going to die in a battle. So I mean, High Templar is what I like to do against Terran. It is still quite hard because it comes down to micro. These tier 3 Protoss units, definitely micro intensive. So now Stephano actually compromising himself slightly in certain engaged positions here. And now the Corruptors are going to move in. Nice defensive force fields here from MC, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him. These Corruptors focusing down one Colossus, and now they're going to head for their second one if they can eliminate it. I mean, MC does have a pretty favorable engage point. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? And it's looking pretty close here, actually. MC could have a chance, but no. Stephano's population, he had 41 Roaches producing in light of that, so he's just going to pull back briefly, but then fire off. MC has has insufficient production power at this point. He has 2 bases. That's exactly it. He actually engaged that very well. I kept saying throughout the whole battle it's not looking good for him, but he engaged quite well. He had great positioning, great force fields, but at this point, look at that, even corruption going down on this Immortal. Quite intelligent from Stephano. The GG is still going to be forced, and Game 3 is going to go to Stephano. He's going to take this series so far 2-1. It is a best of 5, my apologies. It is a best of 5 series, so it is going to go to 3 games. Stephano could actually take this one if he wins game number 4. Anyways, guys, I will see you next time. Lost 77 signing